All right, time for one of my favorite topics, tempo. So tempo is a critically important variable that you'll be getting plenty of practice with. I personally find it pretty shocking that for as important as tempo is, it's often left with the chance of a lot of coaches and programs, but definitely not here. So tempo refers to how quickly or slowly you perform each phase of each repetition. You'll see it represented as 4 digits, and each digit represents one phase of the lift. The first digit is how long you take to lower the weight. The second digit is how long you pause at the bottom. The third is how long you take to lift the weight. And the fourth is how long to pause at the top. Now that sequence, lower, pause, lift, pause, is always the order. Keep that in mind because there are some times where it can get a little bit confusing. So let's look at an example. Say we're doing back squats and the assigned tempo is 4-1-1-0. We start off with 4, which means we count to 4 on the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our next digit is 1, which means we pause for a 1 count at the bottom of the squat. Then 1 again means we lift the weight for 1 second, or we at least try to lift the weight for 1 second. And then finally 0 at the top means that there's no required pause at the top, so you can just get right to the next repetition. So far so good? Now what if we take that same tempo but apply it to a different exercise? Now remember with this one that for our tempo the order is always the same. For our deadlift the bar starts on the ground, so we begin with the lift portion. How long do we take? 1. It's 1 second. Remember, the third digit is always the lift or the concentric contraction, moving the weight against gravity. So it's not that the first digit is the first movement. That's very important. So with the deadlift, if we start with the lift part of the exercise, we look at the third digit. So we lift for 1, then no pause at the top necessary, then lower for 1, 2, 3, 4, then a 1 second pause at the bottom. Now, if you're a little lost, no worries, this can take some getting used to. But one thing to keep in mind is that with very few exceptions, you lower the weight more slowly than you lift it. So the most basic tempos that you're going to be seeing, especially at first, are something like 3-0-1-0 or 4-0-1-0. So which digit is which? Well, the big one is how long to take on the way down, because we almost always lower the weight more slowly than we lift it. So how about another funky example? Here's a remedial shoulder exercise called an incline prone T. So let's say our tempo for this demo is 1-0-1-4. The outlier here is that 4 at the end, which means that we do a 4-second hold after the lift component of the rep. So we press out for 1, hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, then in for 1, no pause needed, and repeat. For exercises like this, it's very often the case that the lift part isn't really hard at all. You see me demoing here and extending the arm, that's easy. The hard part is the pause. So it's important that you can recognize these lifts for what they are when they pop up, because if you skip that isometric portion, the hold, you miss the whole point of the exercise. Now, from time to time, you might also see some odd digits in that third slot for some of the concentric or the lift portions of an exercise. Now, the most common one is X. X means that you're going to lift the weight as quickly as possible. You try and be authoritative, try and move the bar with some force. Now, the key word here is try, because as you fatigue, you might really struggle actually lifting the weight up, and it might not really go all that fast. That's okay. So long as you try to move the weight quickly, it's the effort that matters more than anything else. And this goes for 1 as well in that third spot. So even if as you tire, the bar is not moving all that quickly, that's okay. So long as you intend to move the bar as quickly as you can. Now you might also see A in that third tempo spot. This one's a little less common. A stands for assisted, and it basically means that you're going to use some sort of help to complete that stage of the lift. There are a few places where you might encounter this, but by far the most common is something like a pull-up negative. So as you can see here, in this case, we assist ourselves on the up by standing up on top of the box, which allows us to focus on just the lowering or the eccentric phase. Just remember that if you see an A in that third spot, it means that you shouldn't be working very hard at that point of the lift. If you are, you probably need a little bit more assistance. And that's tempo for you. It takes some getting used to for sure, but I can't stress enough how important this is. Whenever I start with a new client, it's very often the case that they've never considered this kind of thing at all, and as such, the speed is it's all over the place. So I don't want to generalize too much, but it's very likely that what tempo is going to feel like to you as you're getting started is going slow on the way down, probably way more slowly than you've ever been used to. And make no mistake, this does make things harder. A squat at 4010 is a good deal tougher than a squat at 2010. And as such, it might necessitate using less weight. This is, I'm sure, why so few people pay attention to this stuff. It's because it makes it harder. And who wants that? Who wants to use less weight and make things harder? Well, here, harder is a good thing. I mean, if you want it easy, you don't have to do anything at all. You can go sit on the couch. But easy isn't what gets results. It's often taking steps that do make things more challenging, that kind of move us in the direction that we want. So for a lot of you, this is going to be using less weight than you anticipated, and that's okay. Your ego can take it. Do what's right, follow the plan, and know that it's the right move to get you the results that you're looking for.